What's up? Oh, wow. What is up, Auburn family and E2C Network family? I'm getting off to just as great of a start as the football team did. This is another recording of the Auburn Experience. Thank you guys so much for joining us on this special thing we do on YouTube. Obviously, you can download the podcast and listen to it there. But for those of you that watch the recording live on YouTube, you get a little bit of interaction before and afterward as well. So we'll do the first 5 minutes or so just catching up and saying hello to people in the chat. And then we'll do a little bit at the end after about a 30-minute recording session. So that is the basic breakdown of everything. And of course, I brought our friend back, Mr. Austin Scott. What's going on?
What's up, War Eagle, everyone? Quite a eventful time on the plains this weekend. Really nice weather. Didn't have any rain. That's a positive we'll take away from game today. Yeah, we'll get into it. But it was a lot of fun. Really good, just like college football weekend, and in Auburn. I know the game was what the game was, but and we're going to talk about it. But just really great college football, what you hope it's about. A Big Ten team came to the South. A good home and home is complete. Just really fun all the way around when you just look at good for the sport as a whole.
Absolutely. And I think that's probably the best way you can, approach all this stuff this weekend, because if you don't find some happiness amongst all the sadness, then it's just going to be a really, really depressing time. So if you all have any comments or questions that you'd like us to address, we've got about, I don't have like a clock going down, about 3 to 4 minutes left before we'll get started here. We did have some people that stopped by before the recording started. Welcome to the Auburn family, to Jamarian Harkless. We did a video today talking about his commitment today. So for those of you out there that are like, we're not going to get any recruits, there you go. Somebody wanted to commit even after they watched that. So I think that speaks not just to the, the state of the program right now, but the whole package that you get with Auburn. So excited to have him as part of the team. Well, eventually, hopefully, if he sticks it out. Rob wants to confess too. He left at the end of the third quarter. I did not. I stuck out to the bitter end till Penn State finished up their, trying to take over of, the band. Did you get all that, Austin, that they tried to like be the last ones that played in the stadium?
I read a little bit about it. I've never heard of something like that happening, and I don't really know if like that was Penn State's whole prerogative was to just be the last ones there. But I've never heard of the Auburn band being like, it's not like a publicized thing that's like, we're going to be the last ones out. I've never heard of that. But if that is like always been the underlying kind of mantra, I like that. I think that's really, really good thing.
Well, I think it's kind of etiquette. It's your place. Yeah. You get to be the last one that plays. And, if I'm going to be a little bit nitpicky, the one bad thing I have to say about Penn State, and we'll talk about this as one of our bigger topics too, is that, kind of, you got your celebrating. It went on a little bit too long. Get it, celebrate, go back to Pennsylvania. Devin hasn't been to Tiger Walk, so that's why she's asking. Tiger Walk is on Donahue Drive, from to the stadium. Basically, it's the entirety of Donahue Drive up from the athletics offices, the whole dang way. Now, unfortunately, Devin, when you're coming this week on a typical homecoming weekend, it'd probably be a pretty good showing with the heat. 11 o'clock kickoff and the state of things right now. I unfortunately think you are going to get one of the weakest Tiger Walks that we've had in quite some time. That's just
that means you'll get a good seat though. So enjoy that.
That is definitely one way to look at that. If you definitely could did that, if you could look at it that way. Should we be concerned about the defensive line? 4 sacks in 3 games, none yesterday. Yeah, obviously they looked pretty good in the first 2 games, but we talked a lot about this. The game for Auburn and Penn State was a good barometer test for both teams. Auburn knows that it's not right now is not anywhere near Penn State's level. I think I was talking with some Penn State fans on the reaction show after the game, and they were having a hard time grasping the concept. I was saying that they were a good team, but not a great team. And my reason for that is clearly we are not a good team right now. And if you're going to say you're a good team based off who you played and beaten and struggled with and Purdue and, just walloped us, that's not a good showing. Go face some other teams in the Big Ten, and then you'll know exactly how good Penn State is. A good team, but I can't say that they're a great team right now. I think that's a fair statement.
I agree.
And that's not being salty because you walloped us. Like that's
No, it's more an indictment on we are not a good team, and
yeah.
and that showed between the two. But Penn State will have their chances to show how good they are in the Big Ten for sure.
Devin, we are. I always film the live stream directly, usually to the right. If you're looking at the banner that says Tiger Walk, which is basically right at the beginning of where the baseball stadium starts these days, is where they're putting it, a crosswalk right there. I'm usually on the right side of it, looking at the Tiger Walk sign and filming. So I will just come to the Tiger Walk sign, and you'll see a guy with a pole filming a live stream of Tiger Walk, and that's where I am. Dusty, I did see that you tried to find me. You're not the only one. Honestly, a lot of people. I met some listeners, a lot of them this weekend, which is great. And I said, "Come on, everybody, come on to Tiger Walk. We're going to be there hanging out." And it ended up being me, Autumn, Clint, and Auburn Elvis. But I've met Dusty there before. I've met Linda there before when she's here. I haven't seen her pop in yet, but yeah, that's kind of our informal meetup for everybody that's part of the E2C Network family. If you want to take part, just for a few minutes to say hello. I did see this coming through. We'll take a few more comments and questions, and we're going to get to recording here. Do you think someone will ask Harson about the Arizona State job tomorrow? His name is floated. I just now saw this coming around.
Yeah, I saw it right before we hopped on.
Of course, it's going to be asked. I mean, that's and I don't fault the traditional media. I guess technically me as the owner of this is a member of the media, but not in the traditional sense. I think it's their jobs to do these things because they know that's what people want to know. So yes, I do think that there's going to be.
Yeah. If you think anything though is going to come, and this is not on Harson, this is not. I mean, no coach is going to tell you, "Oh yeah, that sounds like a good gig. I'm thinking I'm going to interview for it." Like it's going to be we're focused on Missouri.
Yeah, I was going to say his canned response is going to be our focus is about Missouri and being 1-0 this week, and that's where we're going to stay.
I mean, and that's not even a dig on him. Like that's gonna be across the nation. Doesn't matter who you ask.
Yeah, it's just a thing. So
yeah.
Anyway, Devin, by the way, we should talk later this week because I want to kind of figure out y'all's schedule. I want to try to meet up with y'all some and maybe give y'all, I don't want to say like I'm the professional tour guide, but I want to try to, help you guys out every way I can.
He's pretty close.
Well, I mean, Austin lives there, so I'm not going to volunteer you because I know you've got other things that you got to do, but I'm just saying, I know a bit. I know a few things.
I'd love to, yeah, if there's any questions, maybe Kyle and I will put together a little one pager for you. I don't know.
Presentation.
Yeah. I can go PowerPoint.
All right. Most of you that are regulars here know the drill. For those of you watching the replay, as a reminder, we spend a few minutes at the beginning talking to you guys, at the end talking to you guys. When we record, I'm putting this up as a reminder right now for those of you that may be sticking around the entire time. Just remind folks that we're not necessarily taking questions. We might look into the chat if we ever want to or want to address something that is a good points brought up, but our focus is about recording this podcast. Hope y'all enjoy it. Stick around after you can. I will definitely be staying for a little bit longer. And if Austin can, he will, or if he needs to go, he can too. With that being said, Austin, you ready?
Let's do it.
All right, here we go. In 3, 2, 1. David Housel said it best, the whole of the Auburn experience. Of course, it involves Auburn sports, as sad as it is at times, and as frustrating as it is at times. This is one of those weeks, folks. I mean, we're going to get into that. Just hold your horses. We got things to talk about there. It also involves a university with many great things, obviously historic sites and figures that have been a part of this university, academics and otherwise. It involves people from across the state of Alabama into Georgia, Florida, South Carolina, even Alaska, and across the world. It's not just about sports, academics, or even just one person. It's about the whole Auburn family. And that's what we're going to cover here on this show tonight. Auburn sports, Auburn culture, Auburn family. And as always, this show is best handled with the company of other Auburn people. And that is why my friend and co-host, Austin Scott, is back again. Austin, welcome back.
Thanks for having me. War Eagle, everyone. Couldn't tell you any better, Kyle. I love our opener. As frustrating as it is, it's still Auburn. We still love Auburn. So looking forward to talking about the weekend at hand and having some great guests in town. And yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's still Auburn, and we can hold on to that.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to take things like that. Most people are going to take I shouldn't say most people, a lot of people are going to take the grumpy old man approach, which I understand because I'm kind of one now, and just find everything to complain about and say you're being a sunshine pumper or just trying to put a band-aid on things. No, we all know what we saw this weekend football wise. There is no hiding it. There is no trying to put what's the expression? Putting lipstick on a pig.
There you go. Or a potato.
Oh. Was that a dig?
You just interpret that however you want, Kyle.
Sorry, Coach Harson. We're not here to take jabs at everybody tonight, but that's well played, sir. Well played. I couldn't have picked that out better myself. Usually we spend the first segment, and we call them quote unquote segments here, just kind of catching up on what's hot. And obviously with football season, that's going to reflect a lot of these things. And with the game at hand that just happened with Penn State, a lot of excitement around it. And there are good things that we're going to talk about in our second segment about this, which is just one of the biggest things that I've taken away from this weekend. And it's really been the thing that's helped me get through this travesty. But we got to address a little bit. Now, if you want to have some further breakdown, grading of football coverage, we've got a reaction show that we've already done after the game. We're going to be doing one tomorrow night with Ben King, where the grades are going to be awful, but we're going to do it anyway. So if you want hardcore discussion about the game, that's out there for you. We're going to kind of just keep it more higher level kind of stuff, not fine tuning it on football discussion. We kind of tell where your head is at on this, Austin, but if you want to express a little bit kind of what you've been thinking about, wrestling with, trying to reason with about what happened against Penn State, where are you at right now?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I've talked about it with Kyle before. I've talked about it on our other E2C content. I went to the Penn State game last year. That was a bucket list for me and several of my friends, to make the trip and go, and it was incredible. We were treated very well, and so I was really hoping that it would be just as like last year, a competitive game with a lot of good fans coming in town. And outside of the competitiveness between the two teams, it was a great day. I was listening to post game radio with Andy Burcham, and he even mentioned it to tight ends coach Brad Bedell and said, I mean, at the start there, that atmosphere was just what you would hope for on either side, Penn State or Auburn. You were hoping it was a big time game. The atmosphere was crazy loud, and it was. It really was up until probably right after half. It was everything that this game had been labeled as it was going to be, with the first time a Big Ten team comes to Jordan-Hare Stadium. So, from that standpoint, I thought it was great. That's something, and I've said this before, I don't think I'll ever let myself take advantage of after going through the COVID year. Like, that was something that I can never let go of again. So it was awesome. Campus was alive I live here. We've said that before. Campus was alive from like Thursday night all the way to Saturday late at night. So it was awesome. It was what college football is about: is on campus, big games. And so, yeah, outside of what happened on the field, I thought it was an incredible weekend in Auburn.
I got to agree with you. And we're going to, like I said, expound a little bit more on that, because a lot of that is hats off to Penn State folks.
Absolutely.
I think you already said it. You couldn't ask much more for a college football weekend, other than competitiveness. And, sometimes those things just don't work out, no matter how hard you try or say that you tried. We need to talk about the elephant in the room, though, because the sentiment right now is that was the nail in the coffin for Bryan Harson. And this is not, and I mean, Austin could speak for himself, but in terms of my stance on it, at least publicly, this is not me advocating one way or the other on that. Well, actually, I will say I do advocate that my decisions and commentary is always based on what's best for Auburn. Where I sit right now, I don't know that it is best for Auburn to part ways by their choice with Coach Bryan Harson, despite how bad things seem right now. With all this discussion that's already floating out there, like, where's your head at with that, Austin? I mean, kind of, what do you think about it? The topic? Is it time? Is it done? Like, whatever you feel like sharing there.
Sure. Yeah. I think Kyle, I know that this is your sentiment because we've talked about this before. In the past, I've been very, um, how do I say this? Supportive of you need 3 to 4 years to really see if you're going to be successful or not. Over the last couple of years, that my mindset has changed with that because of evidence I've seen elsewhere, given the transfer portal and given how you can remake your roster. I
Mhm.
think there's evidence of seeing that with Tennessee already looking better in year 2 of Josh Heupel. USC, we don't know what their record's going to be. They certainly look a lot better than the 4 wins they had last year, and that's in large part due to the portal. Michigan State got a new coach, went to the playoff by overhauling with transfers. Now you have to bring those guys in. It's not like just because
Right.
you can get a new coach, you're going to have an influx of really good transfers, which goes to some recruiting. But I think you put it really well that given what's best for Auburn, um, I'm not sure really what is best for Auburn at this point. I think if Brian Harson were to let's since we saw it a little bit right before we came on, if let's say Brian Harson takes an Arizona State job or heads back out west some way, I don't think there's going to be much. No, please stay or let's keep him. But that's also another buyout if Auburn wants to do it of their own volition, or like you said, from Auburn's end. So
Yeah.
it's a tricky business, and we don't currently have an athletic director who usually handles that tricky business. So best for Auburn right now is a murky question, and I hope that whatever does happen is what's best for Auburn, as we always do. So we'll see. I really hope that things turn around and get competitive throughout the rest of the year. I'm not really sold it's going to happen, but that's why we play the game. That's why we look to see what's going to happen.
Shout out to former athletic director Alan Green. Man said, "I'm out."
Yeah,
Said, I am not being part of this.
can you
Um,
blame him?
I, you know, I would like to think that's not the reason he left, and I actually I
Yeah,
would trust that there were more reasons than that. But you kind of do have to wonder. It's like, yeah, this could go one of two ways: either really great or really poor. I'm willing to bet this is not going to be the way I hope it'll be, and it's probably time for me to bow. And like I think we've discussed either on this show or on plethora of other content we have on E2C Network, how grateful we've been of Allen, what he has, the great things he has done. If you love Bruce Pearl, like Austin's got in his background right now with Auburn basketball celebrating that now, you
that's
got to
right.
thank Alan Green for securing the future of that. And you got to thank for finally bringing the athletic, or the football facility. So that's not me taking a shot at him for leaving. That's just saying, hey, man,
No,
good call. Good call.
yeah,
Yeah, you made the good bet at this point. We'll see how it continues, and we'll see how this whole thing plays out with Coach Harson. Right now, it's really just speculation. And frankly, I don't at least publicly entertain much of that because to me, it's not productive until something really becomes super solid about it. So
that's right.
that's the bad stuff. Segment 2, though. Let's talk about the good stuff because believe it or not, there were great things about this weekend, which we've already kind of hinted at. I want to shout out our brethren. I'm calling them brethren. Everybody's got bad fans. They all do. We've had just one or two instances here on the channel of commenters just being ridiculous. And here's the crazy thing. The Penn State fans have come after them, called them out and saying, you're not representing us well. My hat is off, not figuratively,
Absolutely.
because I'm not taking it off right now with the headphones on. I cannot compliment Penn State fans more for the experience that we had as an Auburn family, but a college football family with you guys here. And I just wish I had gone to Penn State so I could experience it from y'all's angle. Like, I, I'm just amazed, Austin, with the stories that come out of this, the experiences that I had. It was incredible to have them here.
Yes, no, absolutely. And like I mentioned earlier, I did go last year, and I wasn't super confident there was going to be a lot of Penn State fans here based on who we talked to. It was like, I don't know if I'm going to make that trip,
Yep.
blah, 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 blah. That's kind of even after they won, it was like, I don't know if I'm going to do that. Very hesitant. And thankfully, a lot of them did come, and it looked amazing. We
Yep.
talked to a lot of people. A friend of mine and I both talked to a lot of Penn State fans who were either from Pennsylvania or from somewhere up in the north, east part of the country, and made the trip because they wanted to see an SEC stadium. They wanted to see the Eagle fly. They wanted to see, what tailgating was like down here. And we're genuinely interested in our traditions and our way of college football life, if you want to say that.
Yep.
So I thought it was fantastic. I have for long since been a not a fan of these neutral site big money making games because that is not at all what college football is about. Is college football is about everything that we talk about here with the Auburn experience and other schools' experiences and traditions. And Auburn and Penn State, two teams who or two I shouldn't say teams, two universities who are very similar uh, to each other in different parts of the country. Um, and they both got to experience each other, and I thought it was fantastic. I was so thankful for how well the Auburn family treated them because we got treated so well up in State College. So I'm really sad that this kind of is over and that these two pairings aren't going to happen for the foreseeable future. But it's a testament to what college football is about, and hopefully future non-conference home and homes with Auburn and other opponents.
And here's the crazy thing is I found myself obviously really disappointed with the results of the game. And at the end of the day, when everything had gotten done and I was done with my reaction show afterward and just kind of feeling this kind of like air was let out of everything. And I realized, yeah, it was about the game, but in the result of the thing, but I was like, this is over. No more Penn State and Auburn. No more
Right.
looking towards it. I mean, we've got coming up, I think it's in this order, Cal next for 2 years, UCLA followed by that, Baylor, Miami, and then it's open after that. And
Right.
home and home series. If I've got it correct, I may have 1 or 2 dates off or something like that.
I think Baylor and UCLA are switched just
You
because
may be correct.
my mom's a Baylor fan. We got that one penciled.
Oh, you got
But
one of those too? I got 2 of those, so,
yeah.
don't
I
yeah.
and that's the other thing is with scheduling. I'm not sure we've already seen it was directly affected by Texas and Oklahoma,
Yep.
but I'm not sure how many of these are really going to stay on the schedule if we'll have to back out of a few due to scheduling across the country. So I really hope we don't with I don't think we will with Cal since that's next year, but I really hope we don't with Baylor, UCLA, or Miami. But you never know what happens. But I'm very glad, and we're talking about Alan Green again because he had a hand in putting those
Yep.
contracts together. I'm very glad Auburn has those set up because that that's just very cool to me. I love that we have college football played in home stadiums and fans get to experience other fans.
Because I'm not convinced that and nothing against UCLA, Cal, Baylor, maybe Miami. Miami, but I can see them being a little crazy just from, reputation kind of thing. But I don't know that we're going to have the experience that we had with Penn State folks. And for me, it started Thursday night when I had my friend Fred on, who's a Penn State, not just fan, but an employee, just talking about how similar, as the conversation went on, how similar the two, I mean, we're state universities, they get the cow college joke too, because they were surrounded in their heyday about, by pastures and things like that. And just listening to some of their history, obviously there's been good and bad times for both. It dawned on me as like, we're sister schools, like
Yeah.
just separated by regions, Northeast and Southern. And it's just been a clash of people that I thought would have so many differences. And yet we have so many similarities. And it started on Thursday. Well, a funny bit here. Apparently, and this came all over Twitter, I didn't see it for myself. Moe's Barbecue downtown was apparently turned into a Penn State bar on Thursday or Friday night, I think is what it was. Did you hear anything about that?
I heard a little bit about I saw some pictures.
Yeah, apparently they all decided that this was going to be their bar in town or establishment to hang out at, and just and took it over. So hats off to them for doing that and making themselves at home. And it didn't seem
Yeah.
like there were too many bad things that came out of that.
No, and I mean, that's another part if we wanna get nitpicky about it. They got here early
Yeah, they did.
Thursday and Friday night to experience Auburn during class, during a regular day, and then, that's great for the city. As a resident, spend your money here. I'm
He
all
said,
for
"Spend
that.
that money."
Spend that money here, and so that's what it's about, and as someone who went up there last year, that place is in the middle of nowhere. It some would say is similar to us, far from different airports to get into. As Penn State very well got to see that firsthand, and so I love what you said about the similarities and that we got to see that because I don't think anyone from Auburn or Penn State before last year would have thought, we have something in common with people that live in Auburn, Alabama, or people that live in State College, Pennsylvania. And so
Yeah.
that's a great thing that happened, regardless of who won the games or how they looked. So I'm so glad it happened, and I hope we get to exchange a game with Penn State again.
Just a couple of quick stories personally, but ones I also heard of. Apparently, last night after the game, Penn State fans were trying to find their way back to their car, and some Auburn fans pulled over and said, "Come on, get in the car. I'll take you to your car." After you just whooped our butts,
Awesome,
type of thing.
awesome.
That happened. Morning of, my tradition is I go straight to Sanford Lawn right when I get there to start off our coverage for the day, and I see this lady, just kind of taking Sanford Hall in awe, and she's taking pictures, and she's about to walk away, and I just pull her aside and I said, "Hey, don't mean to bother you. You might want to wait like 2 minutes and you'll see why." And sure enough, there goes Sanford Hall, chiming off.
Yeah.
And so she got to experience that. She's like, "Thank you for stopping me and like showing me that." And it just happened throughout the day. People would, see me and say, "Hey, can I ask you about this? Why is this important? Where should we go?" And it just kept happening. And at the end of the day, for me, it was sad for me, obviously, but also kind of funny. I'm packing up my car, taking in that it's over, and these two Penn State fans come walking through the parking lot, and you can see we kind of catch eyes for a little bit, and they kind of look off, don't want to acknowledge me because they don't want to seem like they're gloating or anything like that. And finally, it just kind of happened. We finally said, "Hey guys, hope you enjoyed your time," and they were like, "Yeah." And I looked at them and said, "Guys, you can celebrate. It's okay.
That's right.
We're okay. I know we are angry with our team, coaches, everything right now, and most of us are not mad at you. We hope you had a good time, and we're glad that y'all were here." So it's just story after story of that. So I'm going to make this case right now, Austin. We've already laid out what the potential is outside of realignment for Penn State and Auburn to never play again, but I'm going to demand that Auburn and Penn State needs to be on a home and home series. I'm not talking like every, it needs to be on the schedule permanently, but every 10 years, let's do it again.
Every decade. Yeah.
Let's do it. I would love that because then it becomes something that you look forward to every year. And yes, Auburn's down right now. We're going to be back up. Penn State will probably fall down at some point too. It's just the natural progression of things for most people in college football. Yes, even Alabama and Georgia. I say, let's make this thing somewhat permanent. What do you say?
I think it'd be great. Yeah, I think honestly, the way college football is projecting, like you mentioned, that there's going to be more of this playing non-conference opponents. So if we got to pick one, I'm all for picking the Penn State Nittany Lions, and we'll have a little back and forth going every decade or so.
Rich McGlynn, interim AD. If you want to keep the job, get that done, and you'll have my vote. He may be the guy.
That might seem like a small question to ask of Rich McGlynn based on other things that people are asking him of him right now. So we'll go with that. I think he could win. He'd win us two over right now. You want to win 2 votes of some crotchety old men, you can have us.
Hey, we've been less crotchety despite the effects. That was last week. We were being all upset about things. Now we're just kind of delirious at this point.
That's right.
All right, segment 3. Let's hit this topic. We always like to cover a well-balanced diet of all things in the Auburn experience, and it's just going to be more of the same flavor talking about this weekend. On our first episode, we actually discussed and kind of gave your perspectives of a brand new eating opportunity in Auburn, not just on game day, but every day in Auburn. And that is the new Heyday Market. And also we'll maybe talk about the new facility, Culinary Arts Center that's opened up there alongside it now. But I got to be honest with you, I finally got over there to experience it for the very first time.
Tell us about it. What'd you get?
So I'm surprised with my choice, actually, because as you pointed out last time, lots of options in there. And it's a cafeteria, kind of mall food court type of feel to it. You walk in, you kind of look what you got around and then make your selection, get in line. I will advise everybody, don't try to go on a Friday night, much less a Friday. I thought surely a single guy just looking to get a quick meal could get in there, even in the crowds, and it took a minute. Before I tell you what we got, let me just say this at the start. Here's how I now frame how to have a great experience at Heyday Market, and I had a great experience, but I think how to go into it and see if you agree. I think you need to plan this as almost not necessarily a group, but like if you got you and say you're a couple and then another couple wants to go, y'all's plan is to go pick your meal out because most of them give you a buzzer to come pick up your food or call your name out and take a seat somewhere and just have a conversation and just be okay with waiting a little bit of time, especially if it's going to be on a busier night or something like that.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of what happened is I found myself sitting and it would have been great to have some people to talk to that I actually knew other than strangers, but there's seats outside in that nice little green space out there, especially as great as the weather was this weekend. I just found myself wandering out there while I waited for a very long time for my food. I understand it's tough with the influx of Penn State fans, especially that were in town. So if you're going to Heyday Market, even if it's not for the first time, my advice to you is to, think of it as a quick service type of option, but also plan to be able to sit down and relax and have a conversation for a little bit. Don't think McDonald's. Don't think
no.
Chick-fil-A. Don't even think Chick-fil-A. Like, this is where you need to come have a few minutes to spare other than 30 minutes. And I think personally, that's how it's best done, because if you sit outside, especially, you're going to get to look at Sanford Hall, the rest of downtown, all that experience. So does that work for you?
Yeah, that was my experience first time. I went with my wife and brother-in-law and his wife, and we did have to sit and wait at a table for a little while before our food came. But but I mean that was part of it at when we went too. It was taking it all in, like, oh, check that out. We'll have to get that next time. The pizza place wasn't open when we went, so it was like, oh, I bet that'll be pretty good.
It's open now.
Well, there you go. And so the outside seating was also, we were like, when it was very warm that night, but when it gets a little cooler, this will be a great spot. Hopefully they'll have some live music maybe one day. So yeah, I think that's definitely the way to look at it. And it's not the place to go if you're in a rush, or for trying to get somewhere else, just because you can't guarantee what the crowd is going to be like, and also how long for the food. So I think that's all fair to say.
I think off of football season, it's probably going to be much more manageable situation for it to be a little bit more of a quicker option for you. But especially on a game weekend, Friday night, just know you're going to need to have some time on your hands.
Right. And right now, it's been the hot topic on 2 of our 3 shows. So I know everyone that listens to us is over there. So, eventually all our listeners won't be over there.
Despite the crowds. I will tell you, I had a great experience. Enjoyed just kind of taking it all in there. And I got my receipt right here, actually. Cubanita. Cubanita is where I tried. Have you tried that one yet?
I haven't.
So Cubanita, Cuban sandwiches. It was a little different than I was anticipating, but honestly, I chose it because it had no line. And the way they make everything fresh to order, at least at Cubanita, it still takes a little bit of time, even if there's no line there, and they're taking in mobile orders as well. So that's why we had to all wait a little bit, no matter where you went. I just didn't want to wait in line to put my order. I think it's called Little Darling, the hamburger place. Yeah, I was in line for that. Yep, right next to it. And then I just kept looking. I was like, there's nobody getting in line. I'm going to go over there. And I'm glad I did, because it was really good. Everything at this place is not going to be the cheapest, but it's definitely not the most expensive either. I'll give you guys, I had about, was it $11 for a Cuban sandwich? And they usually come with mayo and pickles on it. I got that off because I'm a picky eater. It was really good. It was really good. Very filling. It doesn't come with chips and a drink or anything like that. They have a little water dispenser thing with cups that you can have if you don't want to pay for a drink there. For those of you that like your, libations, they have a little bar off to the side there. And I know that's a frequent ritual for a lot of people. So you are free to take it over there. But I love the Cuban sandwich place. I would say that, like, I'm not like the biggest Cuban sandwich fan, so I'm not going to like rush to go there. But in a pinch, if I know I'm going to Heyday Market, I definitely would recommend getting that again.
That's awesome. Well, I'm glad I haven't tried that one yet, so I'm going to make sure I try that one.
Now, which one have you tried?
Little Darling.
Right.
That was Little Darling that we did.
The burger place.
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
and it was the short line that night. Now, Kyle, we talked about this on our first episode, and I need to know because now that I know you went to Cubanita,
I
and
know
I'm
where you're
thinking
going.
about where that is
I,
in the Heyday Food Market. Did you see the podcast
I
room?
did. Do you
What
know?
what'd you
That's
think?
where I literally I stood outside of it trying to like peer in. Yes. Imagine a podcast talking about a podcast room. Amazing. How do I get in
Cool.
there? That's
That's
what
what
I
we
want.
need to find out. I mean, I'd be willing to bet there's not been a podcast series that has already done 2 episodes about the Heyday Market. So I feel like that gives us some credibility to use the space.
Is it does it belong to Heyday Market? Like, is it theirs?
I have no idea. I assume nobody was in there when you were there.
No, but the lights were on and I could see
Yep.
the setup and I'm like, this is like the dream. I mean, yeah, I mean, I love the E2C Network Central with all my pictures and stuff like that, but to have a true like soundproof professional little and just to describe it to folks who haven't been there yet, it's just like 2 chairs, some equipment set up over here and the boom mics like you can see if you're watching on YouTube for the recording that I have here and it's just a nice little setup and you can
Yeah.
actually be in the room with the person because I know Austin doesn't want to be with me, but I want to be with him. So,
I think it'd be great, and we could try some of our other favorite places in the Heyday Market, and
there are
I
a lot of good options, it seems like in there. So I will be going back and making the rounds. I'm eager to try Little Darling because it's the traditional thing, right?
right.
Everybody wants to try the burger and fries because that's like what everybody thinks of. And
Yes.
when you go to a food court type of situation, the new, correct me here, you say the name of the center so I don't get it right. I think you had it down better than
It's
I did.
the Tony and Liberaine Culinary Science Center.
So all part of the same complex.
Yep.
Heyday Market's just kind of to the side of it, and its own kind of thing, but still part of it. That opened up with the grand opening. Uh, you know, President Roberts was there with the rest of the Auburn brass to, dedicate and everything like that. So that little area of Auburn, not a lot going on other than parking there in the past and some not dorms, but apartments behind it. It's turned into quite the space now.
Yeah, it really has, and like you mentioned, the ribbon cutting ceremony went on this week. I've seen some friends of mine already check out the rooftop. I don't know if it's a restaurant or a bar or I know there's a restaurant in the bottom, but the rooftop has obviously an incredible view of Sanford Hall and campus. So yeah, I mean, it looks like it's up and running, and I think we've talked about it before, and you can check it out on the first episode. But just an incredible facility for Auburn, for the people of Auburn. Um, and it seems like it's been a big hit so far. So I hope it continues to do well. And it's been a great spot and a great addition to Auburn. I'm not someone who's usually for these giant buildings because there have been a whole lot of them coming to Auburn, Alabama. But this, as a integral part of the university, it has integrated well into the city, and so it's been cool so far. I'm super excited about it.
I am too, and I think it's lessening for us. Here's the old crotchety man segment.
Here we
Us
go.
ruining our skyline. The beautiful Auburn
That's
sunsets where
right.
you could like
That's
stand
right.
anywhere in downtown and still see it. Now you can't anymore. But when you get things like this, and for those of you that are big fans of some of the restaurants downtown, it's like, well, it's going to take business away. Well, maybe so, but remember how crowded some of those things get? It's going to spread
Yeah.
people out, especially on game day weekends. And frankly, like I walked in to Heyday Market and I was like, it's crowded, but I thought it would be a little bit more crowded. And I
Yeah.
think you're kind of seeing that already happen. People got their favorite places, but people are still wanting to kind of try some new things. So everything's kind of spreading out and like really getting people moving around the area more. And it's making it a more enjoyable experience as opposed to everybody going downtown to Little Italy, Taco
Yeah.
Mama, all those in whoever. I better not mention anybody's name because they'll shut down at this point.
Yeah. And no one's safe.
Yeah, I meant to go to Cheeseburger this weekend. I forgot to. I may not get to
It's
before.
the end of the month, though, isn't it?
I need to get over there and try that one more time because I do enjoy sitting in that place. It's going to be a sad day when that officially goes. Anyway, that is obviously another good thing from this weekend is getting to experience that for myself. But we acknowledge that, the morale amongst the Auburn family with the way that we all, appreciate football the way it is right now is not great, but there are still some things that you can take away from whether it be the experience with Penn State fans, great places to eat, and hopefully we'll get this thing figured out and righted for football and Coach Harson as long as it will last. That's going to do it for this episode. On your way out, I'd like for us to share where they can find us. You can hit me up on Twitter at Kyle Loomis 24. I think I gave my old Twitter handle last time. Tiger Eye 24 is no more. It is at Kyle Loomis 24. Or you can follow E2C Network anywhere, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. Yes, we're on TikTok. All the places out there, and especially here on YouTube and the podcast. Where can they find you, sir?
Austin G. Scott on any of them will do. And hope to see a lot of people come back home for homecoming this weekend. Like Kyle said, morale's low. I get it. It's an 11 a.m. game against Missouri. But this weekend is more about coming home and coming back to the school that's given all of us so much. So I hope to see a lot of people here. And it's 11 a.m. game. I know I'm not a big fan of the heat and 11 a.m. games either, but this gives you some time to take in campus as after the game and as people head out. So
definitely.
Hope to see a full campus this weekend.
Please do if you can. I will be there, and many of you I know will be traveling as well. And hopefully this will be the salve on the wound that has opened up on this very unfortunate football weekend. With that, that's going to do it for us here at the Auburn Experience. Until we talk to you again, War Eagle.
War Eagle.
All right, everybody. Thank you for sticking around for the recording. We are now opening back up the comments more openly to talk to you guys. Austin, do you want to stay or do you need to go?
No, I'll hang for just a little bit.
All right. If you see a comment that you'd like to address, I'll just start throwing some up here. Hamilton's, yeah. I've never been
Good
to Hamilton's.
I haven't been since like my sophomore year in college, I think. But it's fine. Usually very busy.
I think that's what I've always heard about Hamilton's. It's just always so busy. For anyone going to the game this weekend, where are your seats? I don't have tickets. That's usually my strategy. I go into the weekend basically not having tickets until either I get offered some or I find some to buy. Like this weekend, I went ahead and the game was announced sold out, I think Wednesday or something like that.
Something like that.
I was like, I got to secure some tickets no matter how much it costs. That price tag hurts a little bit more now after the result, but I still did it and I'm still thankful.
Where were you seated?
I was seated for this game in section 43 in the end zone, and it was pretty scorchy over there. What?
I was in 43.
No, you weren't.
What row?
Row 35.
I was row 53. Kyle, we were so close.
Yeah, we were. Isn't that weird?
I probably what? Were you on like closer to 40?
I was close to the stairwell coming up. Like if you come out the tunnel and then go back and turn around and make your right and go right up the stairs on 43.
So closer to the turn of the bowl instead of
no, I'd be more on the side of the middle of the
okay, the other tunnel. I usually come in so we were on opposite sides of 43.
Okay, gotcha.
Wow, man.
Rob will be in section 3 this week. I sit wherever my tickets I can get, but I do roam around sometimes because you can do that. Why not? I had a lot of friends at the game this week, so I was trying to go around and see some of them, even though we were all in a bad mood. Anyway, anyone needs a morale boost, come hang out with me this week, and I will be having a blast.
There you go, Devin.
Devin is like going all out. She is arriving a Thursday, I believe, and we talked. I think it was a Wednesday night when she called in, or maybe that. If I have that correct, Devin, I think so. I started giving her the list. Niffers, Mamas, Tiger Walk, Spirit March if you want to, that kind of thing, or Four Corners, all the things. Section 11.
Let's see. Yeah, section 11. I was trying to think. That's like on the alumni side.
Yep.
Or not under the overhang, but on the straight side. So you should be.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's actually. I think that might be in the corner under the press box.
It's less in the corner and more over the underhang, if I have that correct. No, wait. That is under the overhang pretty solidly. Yeah. If you're far back.
Yeah. You might be under the Eagle if they switch it over there this week.
Section 11 is good. I used to have seats there before the Jumbotron. Huh. Interesting. All right. Let's see here. Talking about TJ. I saw potential in TJ, but poor decisions and bad offensive line play is what killed us. Austin, where are you on the whole quarterback versus offensive line play. We both acknowledge that neither were good, but do you think it's more offensive line?
Gosh, hard to say. I think I'm just so used to the offensive line being bad now that it's
That you're
hard for me
tired of talking about it?
I am, but I understand it. I think TJ really didn't help himself. I think that's kind of what Unbeaten Lake's saying there too. I think with what the offensive line is what it is, and that we talked a lot about this with Bo last year. Robbie's scramble ability does help us. Now, TJ pulled off some great runs.
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up.
Just really great runs that were crucial. I think that really had more to do with how Penn State was playing and leaving the middle of the field open. But I think you saw at the end Robbie getting a lot of reps, kind of as pre-practice for this week. So we'll see. But neither are great, and you really can't have one being bad, and that we've got kind of two.
So the way I framed it yesterday on the reaction show, and they were helping me kind of work through this myself, is I can now, from what I've seen, make the assumption that what we provide or not provide as an offensive line does not suit TJ.
Yeah.
Robbie's, just like Bo, his escapability is the best situation. And that sucks because TJ has done the work, stayed here, and he is, as you said, showed he has the potential to make plays that some other players haven't made yet. Like, he's pulled literally a certain expression out of nowhere, and you have to give him that credit, but if you're going to give him the criticism as well. But I just don't know that he is going to be successful given his physical nature and his skill set with the lack of support that he needs from the offensive line the way it is right now.
I think it's all fair to say. It really does suck. And, you can blame whoever you want on the offensive line issues. But yeah, there's a lot.
Two questions.
I don't want to get into it.
Well, I'm going to for a second because there's a comment and a question that kind of go together. Herb Hand has forever cursed us, our offensive line. So, and then Devin asks, can you explain to me why the O-line recruiting is so bad? Well, we can't. Wow, it's so convoluted, and I'm gonna try to keep it short and sweet here.
You're doing this. I just want you to know you're doing this.
I am. So you don't have to take responsibility or even engage in this, but I'm going to because I just want to be clear. Gus Malzahn fan through and through here, and I have kept myself in check from saying the thing I should say, and I deserve to be able to say, but I'm not going to say it because some people can't handle that. Some people, those are the people that don't watch live and come back in the comments and want to call me Gus lover. He made the biggest mistake, and he did it again at UCF, of hiring Herb Hand. Herb Hand is a great recruiter, in my opinion, from what I've seen, especially here at Auburn, not a great coach of offensive line. That set us back really far. And unfortunately, for some reason, this group that he brought together, because he's the one that got them here, this upperclassmen, is just not, for whatever reason, it's not getting figured out. So now, if you're an offensive line recruit, you can think of it two different ways. Lots of opportunity, right? Or do you really want to be a part of that? And so it's kind of like this back and forth situation right here. The other part of the offensive line recruiting is bad argument that I don't like is that you're assuming that nobody's being worked on and is not coming. What do you want the kids to do? What do you want the coaches to do? Tell them, make a threat against their life and say, come here or else? You can't force kids to, commit. You can only work on them and get them to commit when they're ready. I mean, heck, the latest recruit today decided today's the day I'm going to do it because even though I just watched two very frustrating games from the team that I'm going to commit to. So sometimes it just doesn't make sense. So and what I just said here doesn't sum it all up. It's just offensive line has been bad since that hire and it's just never gotten fixed. And it's not one person's fault. It's not one player's fault. It all goes back to the hire of Herb Hand. And I hate it because that is attached to Gus Malzahn. Case in point.
Good with me.
You have more to say.
Good with me.
You have more to say, and you just don't want to.
it's just this has been talked about ad nauseum, but you know, I think you got to deal with what you got, and what we got is some experienced players, and they're just not the best
as a
talent,
unit.
most talented right now as a unit. And so if you, but that's I'm not gonna say like, well, they better figure it out anyway. We still better win every game, but that is the coach's job is to work with what you got and put something out there that you believe is the best chance to win. And I believe that's what they're doing, trying to do. And so that's the hand we're all dealt. So that's what I'm good with. That's what I'm leaving my piece at that.
The biggest thing with why the whole, and this is just my opinion, I'm not speaking for Austin here. The people that are saying these things a lot of times are the people that are too obsessed with recruiting. And that's recruiting. Let me say this clear as day right here for those of you who say that I dismiss recruiting. It is the lifeblood of a program. It is important. But when you make it, for lack of a better term, your God, and you live and breathe and die by the decision of 18-year-old kids, that's a problem. Like, don't do it. It's not worth it. I've done it.
Yeah.
It's maddening. It's frustrating. I've told this story a lot. The day that Cyrus Quanjo, I was sitting in the BCM lobby trying to get the connection going and keep it going on whatever little link was provided out there, because we had somehow convinced Cyrus Quanjo, the offensive stud, to jilt Alabama after he was committed to them all recruiting cycle. And on National Signing Day on national television, he flipped to us. And then the stories about what actually happened are always out there, but the story that seems to be the most logical is that his parents got a hold of him and said, you can't do this. You've got to go to Alabama. And he never sent in his letter of intent to Auburn and ended up going to Alabama. That was the day I said, I can't do this anymore. I cannot be this invested in the decisions of an 18-year-old. If they get here, I'm going to be their biggest fan. And I'm going to be their biggest support. And when they commit, I'm going to celebrate. We do it here on the channel. Just don't invest in the recruiting the way that most people want you to. It's an empty, shellless hole of a god.
I don't think you should get worked up about, all right, are they visiting? Does this visit mean they're going to commit and not? I think maybe it's a little bit what Devin's asking is, and Kyle hit it. It has to be successful for your
It
team to be
does.
successful, especially in the SEC and especially with who our two biggest rivals are, who have just mastered it. And so I don't think it's, I get the criticism of how this staff has done in recruiting because it's bad. It still looks bad, and it's not going to get it done on the field. It looks like so, but to Devin's point, I don't, and I've seen this elsewhere too about like, well, maybe he's just having the team lose so he can stick it to the boosters for what all that happened. That makes 0 sense. But, just like these coaches want to win so bad, and I think to speak for Coach Harson when I probably shouldn't, I know he wants to win given what all has happened to him and wanting to make this place successful. So I don't buy anything that he doesn't care about recruiting or he
Right.
doesn't care about winning or losing. And it really doesn't even matter or make sense when people say, well, he's still going to get paid his money. It's still a job that he is away from his family for, that he spends 24/7 doing. If he just wanted the money, then he'd just be out there playing golf every day and not caring about. Like, these coaches want to win, and they're frustrated too.
Yeah.
Will they win? I don't know, and we'll all find out together. But I don't I don't think it's fair to criticize people like that, to say that they don't care about what happens or they don't care about if they're doing a good job, because it'd be one thing if we had evidence of him making comments like he doesn't care, but I don't see that from him or the staff.
Yeah, and it just frustrates me, and as you could tell, I got very frustrated because it just the reason I get so passionate about that too is because I've been there, and I've been in that intoxicated obsession with recruiting, and credit goes to the the companies that make their livelihood off of doing this, and they don't intend to make it an obsession for people. People choose to make it an obsession. I just think,
That's right.
it makes me upset sometimes when people, especially when we as Auburn fans don't take responsibility for our role in recruiting. There's, people that dismiss that, well, it doesn't matter what I say on Twitter. Yeah, it does. It actually matters what you say. Just because you're hiding behind an avatar doesn't mean that you're not changing the mind of a recruit that could potentially come here. Then they call them soft. I'm like, okay, well, then just keep at it and we'll keep doing it. So it's all just a big mess. I'm not very happy right now. and shockingly, very little of it has to do with what's on the field. I've already made peace with that. I know what we're dealing with there, and I know we know what needs to be fixed if it can be fixed. Anyway, I'll get off that soapbox. SEC play at home next 2 weekends, Missouri and LSU, very crucial.
Huge.
Very crucial. Crucial. It went from we can win the 5 games in a row, and maybe still it's okay to drop one of those other 2 if we beat Penn State. Now we got to win these. I mean,
yep.
It's not don't hear me say that the season's over if we lose one of these other ones, but we got to get these ones just to keep this ship. The ship's like this right now. It's like tilting enough to where, like, when it rocks, it takes on a little bit of water. If we take one of these losses, it's going to be like full on its side, not completely capsizing, but it'll be like, what do they call that? In car racing, what's that called when they get up on their side like that?
I have no idea.
I'm some old fogey. I don't know. Anyway,
I think it's got to be this one. If you don't win against Missouri, I think you worry about LSU obviously when it gets there, and I think both are important to win. But if you don't win this Missouri one,
yes, Devin, you did get me going tonight, but obviously it wasn't at you. Adam, I would be curious and I'm not picking on you, but I see these kind of comments a lot, like his emotions during the game just showed me he doesn't care. So what would you like him to do? Like, do you understand this at all, Austin, in any way?
I don't know, because I don't don't get into it. I don't.
I'm not trying to pick on him. I'm just trying to understand it.
Yeah, I'm talking to myself of don't get worked up. I just think that we all make fun of Saban when he's screaming and that he's pitching a fit, but we want our coach to pitch fit so he cares. So I don't think that you can assume someone is thinking a certain thing based on how they look. I don't do that with anyone else I know. And so I don't know why I'm going to do it through a TV camera or a jumbotron. And so I don't get that mindset, that his emotions during the game, because to me, I think it's about what your players see throughout the week. And if that's what works for them, and if he's steady, even when you're getting beat by 30, if he's steady, well, then we can be steady and we can keep working our tails off, even though this isn't going our way.
I understand what he's trying to say there, that
I do,
but it still doesn't make sense. To me, that just comes in, not specifically Adamson here, but just the general argument that a lot of people are making about whether it's about his emotions or that he obviously doesn't care about recruiting because he's not doing good at it. That doesn't mean that at all. Adamson says, I'm a former coach, and when the players don't, I'm guessing saying, perform like we practice, old die hard, I just want better for our, and we all do, but I just don't think it's fair to say that just because you didn't like the emotions that you saw doesn't mean that there's not being and maybe they're not emotions during the game does not show me that he doesn't care. I don't think that's fair. Just my opinion. You take it for what it's worth. Austin, you're good to stay or go whenever you want to. I was going to keep staying here taking a few comments. I'm all fired up now.
I'm just looking through. Throw up that next one from Unbeaten Lake if you've got it, because we did see some of this when Harson was asked about after the game if there was a thought of putting in Zach Calzada, and he said it was talked about. And personally, I was surprised it didn't happen, just because down 30.
So, that's what I'm confused about. What is truly going on with Zach that we've waited this long to do so? Because I trust the coaches that there's a reason. I just would like to know the reason so I can, and I think we all would, right? We'd all love to make peace with this, right?
No, I completely agree. I mean, we all know he had the surgery. I'm assuming it shouldn't be, but maybe there's still some complications from that. It's just really hard for me to see or to believe that his product is that bad to not be kind of in consideration right now. Um, so I don't know. Maybe, if it was talked about this during the game, can only assume and think that it'll be talked about more during practice this week and as they evaluate Missouri and what gives them the best chance. But um, I I'm sure they don't want to start this whole. We've all seen playing three quarterbacks in one game before,
Mhm.
and I'm sure they don't all want to see a merry-go-round of that. But I'm not sure what's keeping him on the sidelines.
Um, Adamson says if he's concerned, he may lose his red shirt if he's injured. I don't know that we're at the point where coaching staff would keep somebody out to preserve a red shirt because of the way, if you look at the way quarterback lines up what we know right now. I'm just going to step out on a limb here. I think this is the last go around for TJ with us. After, maybe he sticks around, whether if he loses the job, keeps the job, whatever. I just going to kind of go off what I know right now. Robbie's just getting started, and he has a lot of skill and talent. You've got Holden right behind him. You've got Posse. Is that a Posse? Is that how do you say his name? That is a recruit for 2024.
Yeah, I would say I don't know. Posse
I think
is what I was
maybe it's
going.
Posse.
What my head says.
Anyway, he's coming supposedly if he can follow through with his commitment. Again, my whole rant about commits. Don't get bent out of shape about them because things can change. But so where does Calzada fit into the mix of all this? Like, he's the one that makes the least sense to me because, like, I just don't know how you. I don't know. It's confusing.
Well, and I think too with the red shirt, you get to play 4 games now, and we didn't see him in the 2 cupcake games to start the year,
Yeah.
and so I don't know. I don't think there's a whole lot boom or bust, that could happen if he comes in when down 20 or however much we were
Right.
toward the end there. So maybe there's something going on, and we don't know it,
Yeah.
and they do, and the only thing we know is it was talked about, and so there's obviously some conversation going on.
All right. I'll take a few more comments here, and then we'll get out of here because Austin needs his bedtime. I'm just going to speak.
Beauty sleep. Yeah.
One thing that confuses me about Harson, he talks about constantly running the ball more, then we don't run the ball. Is it the bad O-line play? Yes. I'm just going to answer that right off the bat. I think we know, he knows that you need to run Tank and Jarquez. Jarquez has been outstanding for the most ever, one of the bright spots of the offense. I think we all can say that. When your offensive line cannot open up a hole against the stiffer competition to save their life, you have to try something else. Now, is it what I would have done to throw as much as they did? No. But I understand, like, his justification is we got down, and we weren't getting anywhere with the run game, so we needed to try something else. And, TJ was making some plays, and then the bad happened,
Yeah. My only issue with it is Tank got 5 carries in the first quarter and none in the second, and
that is a little bit
weren't that
frustrating.
bad yet. And it's like, we all know what Tank is, and Tank missed some holes again. I've been on here talking about that before, and I won't get into it, but the same was with Jarquez. We have a great backfield, and I don't quite get not using them both as much as we did when we were fresh in the first half. But I mean, there's no. I'm sure as much of it is in our minds, it's in his mind about the offensive line. So
yeah, it's pronounced. Well, I mean, we have to read it. So, like Marshall's posse back in the Western days.
That's
So it's
how
posse.
I'm reading that. Posse.
Okay, well,
I can see the T-shirt potential.
I could see the Calzada. I could see the Calzada potential for a lot of marketing, but there's no point of it right now. Last question: does Harson even have a boss at this point? Well, yeah, I mean, Rich McGlynn.
Yeah,
and interim won't press the issue, I don't think. for those, I mean, everybody believes that it's the powers that be that control everything. So yes, he has a boss, no matter which
Well,
theory you
yeah,
subscribe to.
he also has a president. So
Yeah.
if you don't believe the interim has any pull, the president does. So
Yeah.
I don't think I'm not. I don't know. I haven't decided if I think that not having a full time AD is going to keep them from making a change if they want to make a change. I feel like President Roberts is going to do whatever he wants to do, and so
Yeah.
if he wants to make a change with the interim, and it's not like Rich McGlynn is just some Joe Schmo off the block. He's been at Auburn a long time, so if he trusts him to do, and they both decide that that's what's best for Auburn, I think they're going to do it. I don't think interim really has much to do with it.
Right. All right, we're going to cut it off there. Thank you guys so much for being here tonight. Y'all were a great crowd as always before and after the recording. I hope you guys, if you weren't able to catch us, the recording part of this, go back and either watch it here or you can find it on the podcast anywhere you find those out. So, Austin, thank you for being a good sport and letting me misbehave tonight.
Hey, I appreciate it. I know you that I'll have to thank you for letting me misbehave every now and then. So,
yeah. All right. Well, thank y'all so much for being here. As always, we appreciate you being part of our little family within the Auburn family. Until we talk to you guys next time, War Eagle.